Hi, I'm Zach Hunter, Sports Information Director for the BYU Men's Track and Field team. I've had the privilege of working with many of the 9 current and former BYU Cougars headed to the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. These former BYU athletes headed to the Olympics have unique qualities and values that they have learned in their time in the BYU athletic system that can apply to anyone and help in everybody's own journey through life. Today we sit down with Courtney Wayment. This is Cougar Gold.
In 2024, I have the opportunity to race, and I have the opportunity to wear USA on my chest and represent so much more than myself. And so for me, I like to just look at it as, what's my opportunity today, and how am I going to take advantage of that? And how am I going to represent the people that I am and myself to the fullest?
That's right, another steeplechase runner. Courtney first began her athletic journey in high school, not with sights on the track though, but on the soccer field. But after seeing early success by becoming an NXN All-American and being nominated for Utah's Gatorade Player of the Year for cross country, she fully committed to running and chose BYU as her school of choice. In 2022, in her final season as a Cougar, Courtney took the NCAA indoor 5,000-meter title, as well as the outdoor 3,000-meter steeplechase title. In the 2021 U.S. Olympic trials, she took 4th in the steeplechase, barely missing the Olympic team. In comeback fashion, she placed 2nd in the 2024 trials this June and will be competing for Team USA in her first Olympic Games. My conversation with Courtney was amazing. We talk about her time at BYU, the mental side of the sport, and what she expects out of herself in Paris. And now here's my conversation with Courtney Wayment. And so today we're going to talk everything about how you got into running, and then what your journey to BYU was like, and then what has it been like since you have turned pro. So, but first, we were researching, the producers and I, about just like fun Paris things, and we want to get your take on this. So, today we found out the name of the mascot for the Paris Games. Do you know what we're talking about?
I know there's always a mascot.
There's always a mascot.
But I don't know the name.
You don't know the name?
No.
Do you know what it is?
No, I
Okay.
don't.
It is, I will show you a picture and we will
Okay.
put this on our social. We'll get your take. So
Okay.
it's the Phrygian, which apparently is
Cool.
a hat like that has historic relevance that I'm not aware of. But that's the Phrygian. We'll put it on our social. What's your take on the Olympic mascot, though? Are you going to get a picture with the Phrygian?
Well, okay. So fun fact, my first team that I made for Team USA was 2 years ago in 2022. And gosh, I can't even remember his name, but it was in Eugene. And there was like a whole scandal with the mascot where someone took the mascot's head.
Oh, no.
And there was a whole thing. So, and I still follow the mascot on social media, and I can't even remember his name. But I'm here for it. I'm like, you know what? Whatever gets the crowd interactive, you know, whatever draws people in, I'm here
Hopefully
for it.
we don't lose the head. It looks like it's all one enclosed thing, so
Yeah.
you can't lose it. But I guess
Yeah.
you're here for the mascot.
I'm here
then.
for the mascot. I'm like, yeah, be interactive. Have some fun with it. It's, you know,
It's
good
fun.
for the sport.
Well, we were talking with Kenneth Rooks the other day about like the merch that you guys get too, and we'll dive into all of that, all the Olympic kind of things that we besides the race that you have. But let's just get to know you a little bit, Courtney. So you are a steeplechase runner, but let's get back to like how you got into running. So your parents, Mark and Becky, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were both runners at Weber State, right?
Yep.
So how did was it just like in the Wayment family we run? Like, is that what it was like, or how did you get into running?
Yeah, I mean, the Wayments we ran for sure. Every kid, it wasn't mandatory, but it was mandatory to run cross country and track. You had to try it. And if you didn't like it, you didn't have to continue it, but you had to do a season of both. But the more of the story with the Wayments is my dad, his parents passed away when he was really young. So his mom passed away when he was 12, and then his dad passed away actually almost a year into his mission.
Ooh.
And so he was 19. And how my grandpa actually passed away is he went on a run. So my dad would do the city race for Clinton City here in Utah, and he would win every year, Yeah. And my dad would do it every year. And when he went on his mission, my grandpa said, "Hey, I'll run the race for you instead."
Wow.
And so my grandpa actually went on a run, and he was a state senator at the time. And he went on a run, and he got like 400 meters into this run, and he actually had a heart attack and passed away. Mm-hmm. And so the city named the 5K after my grandpa. And so we have the Sherman A. Wayment 5K. And so, yes, we all had to do cross country. We all had to do track. But every year in July, everyone in my family gathered for this 5K. And that's kind of how running began in my world, is it was always something deeper than just running. And I wanted to prove a point to my parents, and that's how I got into running. But yeah, the Wayments always were running for sure.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that too.
Yeah.
That is, it's powerful. I feel every runner kind of has a different, it's not just the sport. There's something kind of deeper behind that too.
Yeah.
Did you, I guess July 4th was just a few days ago. Did you go do that again with your family?
So actually this year it was in June, and it was right before the trials, and I just am not doing large crowds in order to protect myself from getting sick. Okay. And so for the last 2 years I haven't been able to participate actually, but they did really cute shirts, and they put like the Sherman A. Wayment 5K, and they put it in Olympic rings, and on the back they put Team Wayment. So anyone in the city or from Utah that ran that race has a cute little Team Wayment with the Olympic rings on it. But so I haven't been able to participate, which is a big bummer for me because I love it, but my family understands, and I represent them on a different level now. Yeah,
I mean, you can run for him when you're in Paris, right?
Exactly.
That's powerful.
Exactly.
Okay, so what was your transition like through high school, and like why BYU?
Yeah, those are good questions. So I actually played soccer, which I've talked a lot about, but yeah, soccer was my first love, and it was actually my dream to come here to BYU to play soccer. And when I realized that wasn't the dream that I wanted anymore, going into my junior year, so the end of my sophomore year of high school, going into my junior year, I decided that I didn't want to play soccer competitively anymore. And it was kind of a tough transition. I finished up my last season of high school soccer just for fun, just for kicks and giggles of one last hurrah. And then I decided after state in soccer that I was going to focus on running. And state in soccer and state in cross country always aligned the exact same week. And so I was always playing some kind of state soccer game, maybe 2 days before cross country. Wow. And it lined up like that again. And I ran in cross country, and I got 9th in the state, which that was my lowest place at that point. It was still a really high place. You still placed all state. However, I was like, oh, talent doesn't beat hard work. And so I kind of decided to go all in on running. And once I did that, I just wanted to see how good I could get. I didn't know if I would be able to run in college. I didn't know what my possibilities were. And so as I started getting better and progressing, colleges reached out, and BYU was not my first pick, I'll be honest. I kind of had no interest in coming, and something kept pulling me back. And I felt like BYU was where I needed to be. Maybe it's not necessarily where I wanted to go, but once I made the decision of committing to, hey, I'm going to go to BYU, it felt so right. And I was just excited after I made the decision. So it's kind of scary making the decision. And then once I did, I was all in on BYU.
Wow. And what was that first, those first couple weeks on the team? You have a new coach, and that can just be different anytime you have changes in life. But got a new coach, new place, new system. What was those first initial days like?
Yeah, so it was really different because the coach that actually recruited me retired. And so Coach Taylor got the job 2 weeks, I think, before cross-country camp. I don't know, maybe 2 to 4 weeks max. And so coming in, I think my experience was a little different because everyone on the team, it was new. We all had a new coach, and normally like upperclassmen can help guide a little bit more of the team and they still did, but they were also still getting a relationship with Coach Taylor as well. So it was a little bit different, but it was fun. I immediately made friends with everyone on the team, but especially my class, of my class that were left was me, Whitney Morgan, Anna Camp-Bennett, Olivia Hoyt-Simister, and all 4 of us left as national champs. So
pretty good squad to be a part of right there.
Yeah. And all of us are still running at some level today even. And so, the first few weeks were super fun. It was just fun getting to know a new coach, new teammates. I had a lot of fun for sure.
I think that's a good mindset to have. And like kind of from talking with a lot of the Olympians so far is you guys just have a positive outlook or just a hopeful outlook. And even in that kind of time when a lot of people, it could be super stressful, and that's okay. But it seems like that you kind of focused on the positive in those moments of, hey, we're all new here and let's just embrace that a little bit. Throughout your college career, you had a lot of highs. I think we often talk about kind of those highs that you have, right? I'm interested in wondering, maybe not like the national champ, right, that you had in 2022, and we'll talk about that. But what's like a race where you're like, man, that was a good race that I had. Maybe it was a small race, like a small meet. Do you have one that kind of stands out to you like, oh, I felt good after that race?
Yeah, I definitely had a couple. I mean, yes, I had a lot of success in college, and I had 4 national like there was a lot that was good. But it wasn't until my last 2 years of college, really. Up until then, I spent 4 years kind of being middle high end of the pack. And there was definitely a lot, and I would say 1 per year, I would have a race that was just like filled my soul with joy and belief and hope, even if it wasn't flashy. And the one that comes to mind right now was there was a 5K that I did at regionals in outdoor track in 2019. And it wasn't flashy by any means. I think I got second to last at regionals, to be honest. I don't know. I was on the back end of regionals. However, I had gotten injured. I ran a 5K. That was my season opener. And I qualified for regionals, but in that same race, I knew that I was pushing the limit on a bone, and I ended up getting a stress reaction, and it was painful, and I had to take a bunch of time off. So I went into this race only running for 7 days going into the race, and I just wanted to race. I didn't care what my fitness looked like. I didn't care if I was going to make it to nationals. I didn't care. I just wanted to line up. That was all that my heart wanted. And I went to this race, and 5K's 3 miles, and 2 miles into the race, I was like, I feel incredible. I was like, I'm in position to kind of qualify for nationals. Like, I was like, oh, I might ball out today. And then I died a hard, long death. But even still in that race, I believed. And I believed that I was capable of greatness. And I remember finishing that race. Coach Taylor looked at me and she was like, you're going to do incredible things. So it wasn't a flashy race. I didn't run well. I didn't race well. I wasn't fit. I wasn't really ready to race, but I just wanted to, and I wanted the opportunity. And so I think that kind of encapsulates a lot of getting to the highs of I just wanted the opportunity. And I wanted to make sure, especially leading up after that race, that every single time I got the opportunity, I made the absolute most of it. So that's kind of that one race for sure.
I love hearing those kind of stories because I think sometimes fans, we only see like the highs. We only see the post where you cross the line and like you're the champion, right? But I think there are big wins that like can be personal that are just as big sometimes.
Yeah.
What is kind of your mindset when it comes to approaching a big race? You've had many championships and many big races where there's like a lot on the line. What has been like your mindset when you prepare for that?
I would say it's similar to what I just talked about is you don't know how many times you're going to get that opportunity. So obviously I would like to continue making teams, and the hope is to make more teams, and I believe I will keep making teams. However, I don't know what's going to happen in 2028. So in 2024, I have the opportunity to race, and I have the opportunity to wear USA on my chest and represent so much more than myself. And so for me, I like to just look at it as, what's my opportunity today, and how am I going to take advantage of that? And how am I going to represent the people that I am and myself to the fullest? And pressure is such an interesting thing, and it definitely comes in waves, and there is a lot of pressure, but there's only as much pressure on yourself as you allow. And so I think it's really making sure that you're intentional with your thoughts and how you view things, and not viewing it as like, oh man, I'm on the biggest stage in the whole world, and it's this thing that only comes once every 4 years. Yes, it's big, but also it's running. And so it's like, okay, I have worked really hard, and I've been given a talent, and I've tried to develop the talent, and I've tried to be disciplined. So let's just go see what we can do.
I love that mindset. I think that there's so many truths in what you just said, that like anyone could take, like runner or not, right? Anyone in their life can take, what opportunity am I given right now? What I'm interested, what do you do to kind of quell those thoughts? Do you meditate? Like, what's like your routine? Do you journal? What helps you develop that?
I journal a lot. That's something that I really do, is I journal a lot, and I like to reflect a lot. For example, going into Olympic trials the night before the final, I just sat in my room by myself, and I went through all of my journals and the notes that I've written for the last 8 months of my life. And I really have reflected on where I've been. And there was a lot of hard. However, looking at the hard and thinking where I've been like, this is where I'm at. Like, how cool is it that 8 months ago, I didn't know what the course of my life was going to look like. And now I'm literally the night before trying to qualify for my first Olympic team. So I like to journal a lot and reflect of, hey, no matter what happens tomorrow, look at how I got here. Like, that's really cool. So yeah, a lot of journaling for sure.
But it seems like you put in a lot of effort into the mental side too of sport, not just the running, but maybe that's something too that a lot of younger athletes, a lot of young runners, they focus a lot on the physical side, but that sounds like it's equally important for you there. Yeah,
I would say, in my experience, I would say sometimes it's more, there's obviously a balance, but sometimes I think that there's a big thing of making sure you're focusing on your mental, because you can only do so much physically. Sometimes more is not more. You can only do so much physically, but mentally, there's so much that can be worked on. And, you know, when you get to this level, it's the 1%. And so you have to be very intentional with how you spend your 1%, and mentality is a huge piece of that.
Well, let's jump into like the race then. Let's say the final of the U.S. trials. When you're going through, what's your mentality like during that race? Maybe walk me through the race itself, of like the start. What are you thinking versus the end?
Yeah, so me and Coach Taylor kind of come up with a plan, and everyone in the country always knows what my plan is. I always make the steeple an honest race. The steeple is hard enough with barriers and water jumps that you don't want to leave that kind of stuff to chance.
And so I did want to, just to clarify for the audience, what's an honest race?
So an honest race meaning you're running every 400 split at a very fast time. So the whole time I wanted it to be 9:00s as a race, and make sure that everyone who was going to make that team had to PR, including myself.
So it's pretty much we're not going to slow down and just wait until the last lap to run and see who makes it. It's like, we're going to push this the whole time.
Yeah, and you have to be fit enough to make that team. There's advantages one way or another, but for me, I know that that was my smartest race plan. And so that's exactly what I wanted to do. So we went in with that mentality. right before the race, as I was warming up, it started to get super windy. And so I thought, maybe we'll sit back and not take the lead. And so I tried to do that for the first 2-ish laps. And then I realized, oh, we're slowing down. I can't have that. And so then I just did what I normally do in the steeple and took the lead. And after that, I was only focused on myself. I was focused on myself the whole time, but I really zoned in on just me and Coach Taylor. It's weird, but I get in a zone where I'm aware of my surroundings, but it's very self-focused. And so every time I'd come off a water jump, I would look at Coach Taylor like, okay, here's my split. Tell me how many people are with me. What do I need to do this next lap? So it's weird how we communicate, but it feels very like task oriented almost. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was just kind of the plan. And then 400 to go, ensure that spot. And, everyone said like, oh, that was so spooky. But, because with 400 to go, I was in 4th place. But yes, it was spooky. However, in my mind, I was like, it's not who makes the first move, it's who makes the last move. And so that's kind of where I was at. But that's a little bit of the summary of that race.
Well, and I think to add another layer of context to that, like you in the previous trials, right, when you were competing, you placed 4th. And so that last lap, it wasn't, oh, I was in the spot last time, right? It's, no, you're like, I'm in 4th and I'm going to push to the end and it's going to happen. And I think maybe that growth is just so cool to see that you've done. Maybe we talked a lot about Coach Taylor, and we could talk all day about Coach Taylor. Yeah. We could have a Coach Taylor podcast for Diljeet.
True.
But what has her role been like? And I'm interested, what's her role been like as you've gone pro? How is it different or is it the same?
Yeah, I would say, we're closing our 8th year. In August, we're starting our 9th year together. Gosh, I think so.
Wow.
8, yeah. I think we're starting our 9th year together. So it's almost been a decade of being together. But we've definitely she's played different roles in my life as I've grown up. And yes, I'm an adult, and yes, I'm almost 26, but there's definitely been a different role that she's had to take. And through all of the roles, it's always been a foundation of love and trust. And as we've moved from college to pro, there is a lot of change because in the pro world, it's a lot more individual. It's not team oriented almost like at all. It is more individual. And so we've had to shift that relationship of a little more collaboration, a little more togetherness. There always was that in college, but it's just different. And describing that is a little bit tough because it's the same, but it's totally different. And yeah, a lot more collaboration together. A lot more of being able to joke around a little bit different. The vibes are different, not being on a college team versus being pro. And it's been so fun. So fun. I would say that's been the theme of it, is there has been a lot of fun. The stress, the nervousness, it's all still the same. But again, it's different in how we handle it. It's more like, okay, here's what we need to do. Here's the business side, but let's just make sure that it's fun. And college was the same way, but it's a different now that I'm not 18. And I'm not 18 at the age of 22, 23. Now I'm 25, 26, 27, So it's different, and I didn't explain it well, but it's just different. But it's been so nice having that consistency with her. So the transition hasn't felt so hard.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I've seen is from my experience with Coach Taylor. She's very, very present in where she's at. Mm-hmm. And that probably comes across very much in the pro world of when she is here for Courtney, she's here for Courtney.
Yeah.
And that seems like such a gift to have. you do train with your former teammates, and it is an individual kind of mentality in the pro world. But how has it been training with Anna and all the other athletes that come in and you train with? What's that relationship like?
Yeah, with Anna and Whitney, it's so fun because they're familiar, right? I know what their strengths and their weaknesses are in workouts, as do they know mine. And so we can really do workouts together of, hey, I'm going to need you to lead this rep, and I can lead this rep, but I won't be able to lead this one. So I will do this chunk of the work, and you're going to have to do this chunk of the work. So it's nice as training partners because we know how to rely on each other. We know where one another is going to need help, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally. It's familiar. And so we don't have to change a lot of that stuff. But it is a lot more individual, whereas, in college, maybe it was, okay, we're all going to the same meet because that's where the team is going. And maybe this race or that race doesn't really fit with me, but like I will come and I'll pace you, or I'll do this work for you. Whereas you don't really do that as much in the pro world. You do a little bit, but it's to a different level. And so it's been fun having each other, again, help this transition and doing it together. So when it feels hard or it feels overwhelming, we have each other's backs. And we also know the hard that's going on beyond the track. So that's all track stuff. However, it goes so much deeper than that because we're all best friends. And so we know what's going on in our lives off of the track. And so, I know for me, there's been a lot of emotional hardship that I've gone through in the last year. And sometimes coming to practice, I would feel wiped out, and I would be like, guys, I'm wiped. Like I emotionally or mentally, like, I don't know if I can do it today. And they would say, we got you. We're going to lead this rep. We're going to lead the workout. We got you today. And so it makes training and running again deeper than running. We're doing really hard things together on the track so that we can help each other through hard things off the track too. So it's the best thing ever having those two with me and on this journey with me.
I think that's wow. I think everyone needs to kind of have those relationships where it's like, hey, I'm kind of burnt today. Can you help me out? And I'm sure they've had days too where it's flip-flop.
Yep.
Right?
Totally.
That's amazing. I do want to kind of shift gears to let's talk about the Olympics because everyone wants to talk about the Olympics. Yeah. So this is one question that I've found so interesting talking with everybody, but what was your first Olympics memory?
My first Olympics memory was 2002 because Utah hosted the Olympics.
How old were you then?
I was like 4 or 5.
4. Wow, that's a good memory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was almost in kindergarten, so if you can remember anything from kindergarten,
sense. I don't remember much.
Yes. Yeah, I'm probably a little older than all you guys, which is okay. But yeah, that was my first memory. I remember going and I'm not sure if it was my parents or if it was the Olympics themselves, but there was a little book that me and my cousins had. And each one of us got one, and we could go and see what athletes we could have sign. And they used to do this little beret. And it's like super ugly. Yeah. But I have a picture of me in this little beret, and it was freezing cold outside. But that's my first memory is when Utah hosted. And it was really cool from what I can remember. But I have a bunch of pictures in my little scrapbook of my my childhood memories of at the Olympics. So 2002.
Wow. Well, we found out today, too, the 2002 Olympics look it up, it's the green Jell-O was the mascot.
Wow.
Which is very much a Utah thing, I feel like, and I don't know why they branded it that way, but that's
They did. Fun. That is a staple for
we will
our
put
culture.
that out, too.
True.
So, okay, and then when did you realize, hey, like, I might make an Olympic team? Like, that is in the realm of something that can happen. Was it high school? Was it in college when you're like winning some titles, or when did that kind of happen for you?
I would say the Olympic dream started when I was pretty young. Again, I played soccer, and that was the dream, was to be an Olympian for soccer. And I had this dream, and I really, really wanted it. And there was a moment when I was 15, and I had looked at my parents, and I mean, there's obviously more detail to it, but I looked at my parents and I was 15 years old and I said, I'm going to be an Olympian. And I just knew it so matter of factly. And my parents were like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that
For
sounds
sure.
great. Yeah. Yeah. But I felt so deep in my soul. I felt like I had a very individualized spiritual experience that it didn't actually happen, but to me, it felt like it did. And I felt like I'm going to be an Olympian one day. And that was kind of when the dream started. And I think every athlete as a child believes that. And so as the years went on, I didn't not believe it, but I never thought of it. That dream, once I dreamed it that day, I didn't necessarily think, oh yeah, I'm going to compete at the Olympic trials and I'm going to be an Olympian. And it wasn't until 2020 that I really, really felt like, hey, maybe I really do have a shot at this thing. And as I got older and I was towards the end couple years of my college career, that's when I started to believe that I think I have a shot at doing something great, and I think I have a shot at the Olympic team. And yeah, it kind of I started manifesting it or, believing it more, especially during 2020. I would say that was the most pivotal time. And then as 2021 unfolded, then I really started to believe it. And yeah, so there was a couple defining moments in my life, but as far as the dream becoming a reality wasn't probably until 2020. Yeah, 2020 to 2021.
And then it's like, oh, this can happen. Mm-hmm. That's cool to see. It was early on, but then you just kind of, it slowly evolved into now it's happening.
Yeah. It's cool. It's not everyone gets that opportunity. And, I'm really thankful that I have. And I'm proud of my little self for dreaming big. And I'm proud of my adult self for going after those dreams, because it can be scary and, you don't always get those dreams. So I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to chase them and get them.
Yeah. What's your expectations for the Olympics?
Obviously, I do have expectations. However, I think going in, last year I made a world team that I competed at in Worlds in Budapest, and I left really heartbroken. And that feeling was really hard. It was really hard believing in myself and having a performance like that. I wasn't quite used to it. And I left really, really heartbroken in every sense of the way. And all that I want as far as my outwardly expectations for the Olympics is to make myself proud. And whether that's getting my goals, whether that's not, I want to line up knowing that I believe in myself. And then once I finish that race and I cross the finish line, I want to know that version of me was racing to the full capacity of what's inside of me. And whether that's the outcome that I want or not, I want it to be more based on the love and the passion and the light that I have for the sport. So yes, I have expectations, but more so, I want it to be one filled with love and passion.
Wow. What an answer. That's amazing. And I guess just to wrap up, I wanted to ask you this, because I've heard some stuff that you've talked about, but what is just like an advice that you would give to just like young athletes, young kids? What's some advice that you would give them from an Olympian?
Yeah, the advice that I would give as a young kid is have fun. There will be a time in a lot of athletes' lives where they're going to question if they like their sport or if they want to continue to do their sport. There's the statistics of, I think it's 80 or 90% of female athletes quit by the age of 14.
Wow.
And so a lot of those female athletes aren't even seeing the other side of it. And so my advice is have fun. If you love it and you have the opportunity, keep at it and just have fun. That's so important. I think a lot of times kids will specialize in a sport, and that can be good and it can be bad, but as long as you're having fun, I think that's the most important thing. So have fun with it. Find your passion in it, find the fun and the love in it, and that will take you far. And when it gets hard, because it's going to, or when you want to maybe step away or think what you're thinking, as long as you're having fun and you're having your passion, whether you stay with that sport or not, you'll find your way for sure. But have fun. That's the most important thing for sure.
Have fun. I love that. It's such good advice just to keep it simple and enjoy. And that's kind of what I felt like our conversation today has just really been about, is finding joy in the sport and just finding joy in life.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for taking the time today. I hope that people were able to understand not just like who you are as an athlete, but just who you are as a person and some of these values you've learned here at BYU that you've taken to this Olympic stage. And we wish you all the best. So we're super excited. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
That was an amazing conversation with Courtney. I find it so fascinating on how she sees this whole experience of competing in the Olympics as a unique opportunity that she's grateful for. The first round of the women's steeplechase is slated for Sunday, August 4th, with coverage on the NBC family of networks. Cougar Gold is partnered with BYU Athletics and produced by Cleon Wall, Ethan Horn, and Jonas Guffey. Episodes are available on BYUradio.org, the BYU Radio app, and wherever you can find podcasts.